Hey, how's it going? It's Tuesday again. It is time for functional conditioning yoga with me, Stewart. Good to see you all. I'm happy to be here. Always happy to teach this stuff. So, I would like to talk a little bit first before we actually dive into the yoga and dive into the stretches and the mobility and the articulations of our body. Let's think about what this actually is and why we do it. So, I want your stuff to work nice. And I love yoga. I love it. If I travel somewhere actually, I will make time to look out a yoga class that looks cool. And it can be the most hippie yoga class. It could be forward thinking, which I like to think that mine are forward thinking, like smart mobility yoga class. I like them all. I'll go to yin yoga, I'll go to ashtanga, I'll go to any type of yoga. But you can't hit everything. There's no one type. Within an hour, you can't do everything that is good for your body. You just can't. We're not doing cardio in this. You're not going to get out of breath, so you're not going to improve your cardiovascular fitness unless you maybe just can adapt a little bit to breathing a little bit better and understanding how to breathe better. But it's not going to make a huge change in how far you can run or how fast, well, maybe a bit of how fast you can run, but it's definitely not going to get your endurance to be better at running. But what it can do is teach you how to feel how your joints work and what's missing and what can you improve on. And you might already know this. So many people, and this is a prime example of where I work in the gym, nearly every bodybuilder type guy that's been bodybuilding and just coming in and lifting weights, some of them really well, some of them really strong, how many of them have said, oh, I was just getting the dumbbells up for a chest press or shoulder press, and it rocks back. And as soon as I rocked back, I felt my shoulder go. It was tough. I just shook it off and I just did light the rest of the session. Super annoying though, because I was down from pressing the 60s for the first time. But you get these little niggles, it slows you down. If that person really knew their shoulder and really knew it, they would know that the act of going from here into this little external rotation with a load of load through it, they'd know their shoulder wasn't good for that, and you can train it for that, so that it can adapt to be able to rock back. And it's just an example, but it applies to everything. That if you think that your ankles don't work so well, so you can't get into dorsiflexion back to extension very well or very quickly, just ankles a bit stiff and a bit slow, you can't run fast. You just can't. You might be able to run, and you might be able to run for short distances, but every time that you really try and push faster, the load exceeds the capacity of your joint, and your ankles don't work as well. Or maybe you just can't get fast. You can't break any kind of speed that you normally train at. And that's what I'm after from this, is your knowledge of how your stuff works and how to make it work better. Let's get into it. Let's just get started, because it is time. It's time that we started. So, sitting right on the edge of your sofa or your chair or your bed, if you're not close to anything, sitting on the floor is absolutely fine as well. I just like to play around with these positions and settle and scan and understand what my body is doing. Can I soften my shoulders? It's a problem for so many people. The shoulders just hold tension. Those people tend to get a sore neck or headaches, or feel all this tension right up into the back of their skull. If you can just be able to let those shoulders relax. You can't only relax, you've got to be able to be tight and strong as well. But right now, I want to see if you can just relax and just soften. See if you can slow your breathing down enough. It's just your rib cage that does this. You expand your lungs and draw your belly in. And expand. Draw in. Your hands can go anywhere. You'll see that I kind of held onto my rib cage to try and feel. That works too. And see if you can pull rib cage down on one side and down on the other. And see if you can really breathe slow. Soften your shoulders as well. You'll notice that we do this every week. Every yoga class I do, I'm going to check in with this side bend and feel how I control it. I want you to really tune in to understanding what it is that you are doing. How are you making this work? Is anything else joining in? Your shoulders doing something? Is your jaw clenching? Is your forehead like furrowed? Like a furrowed brow. I feel like I've never said that word before, because I had to really check in my mind whether it was the right word. And then cross your arms over your chest and go into rotation. Isn't it funny how human doubt in the midst of a sentence can creep in and you're like, is what I'm saying right? Am I just saying a load of random words, especially when I get into a bit of a flow? So easy for me to get into flow state when I'm talking about movement and just explore stuff myself, and I'm just really commentating on my own movement and seeing if I can get you to do the same and follow yourself and feel what every bit of it feels like. I'm good at flicking the switch on movement, which means that I can talk and think and pour my attention into other things, and when I come back to the movement, I'm still doing it the same way that I left it. So I'm doing that right now. I've set myself into the motion of finding this end range rotation and squeezing into it. And then I can just pour my attention into my breathing and I'll just keep this movement going the same. And I think it's a skill that I take for granted for myself, because sometimes when I tell people to do this and then ask them about something else, sometimes it's just chit chat, ask them about their life, they'll just suddenly stop and they'll talk and I'll be like, no, keep going, but keep telling me about the stuff, keep telling me, so that I can see whether you can breathe and talk and make all of these muscles that make this rotation happen work, so that you've got a good connection to them, that they can just keep on going. Okay, let's stick with this seated position. We're going to do controlled articular rotations of the spine. I want you to feel what your sit bones are doing, like what part of your bum is pressed into the sofa or chair or bed or wherever you're sat. Just wriggle around a bit and feel the changes. So when you come to the side, you feel one bum cheek lift and then the other bum cheek lift, and just see if you can keep that really, really uniform. Like where you just settle now, that is it. You're going to feel that same stuff. And then I want you to pull your bottom rib down towards your pelvis. And then I want you to rotate. And then I want you to dip to the side. And then lean back. Feel your sit bones not change as you find as much of a lean back as you can, and land, rotated and dipped to the side, and then do a crunch, across, and then back the other way. And you're finding as many corners as you can in your spine. I want this to be kind of like medium irradiation. So irradiation is when you kind of tense your muscles. I want you to just kind of have it on about 5 or 6 out of 10. I can do this like 8 or 9 out of 10 where I like hulk out. I can't talk and do it very well at the same time, but I'm like holding these muscles so tight as I do it. I don't want it as hard as that. I want you to just explore the shapes that your spine can go into and see if you can control it, and see if you can breathe. And what kind of breathing can you do as this movement stays quality? And like I say, this skill of being able to set a movement in motion and then kind of bounce your mind around all of the building blocks of this movement. Breathing is one of the building blocks, but you are making the stuff that you breathe with articulate at the same time. Gets kind of hard. That's it. Let's go one more. Perfect. And then come up into standing. And let's have a little think about our shoulders first, shall we? Let's do this slightly differently. I don't think I've done this very often in this class. I want you to lock your elbows out and pull your fists in towards your pockets and try and reach your fists down towards the floor. Can you go shoulders forwards, shoulders up, shoulders back, shoulders down, or back to where we started? Have you bent your elbows while you did that? Very likely you did. Try again without bending your elbows. Forwards, up, back, down. Don't bend your elbows. Now see if you can really find the end ranges of where your shoulders can go, and see if you can lock your elbows out even harder. So you're trying to really actively straighten your elbows hard and not move anything else. I'm going to move sideways on so you can hopefully see. I think the forwards and down bit for me makes me cramp up in the chest a little bit because it makes me tense these muscles super hard. The more I do, the better I get. And I'm very likely to move my neck to try and adapt to this. And it's almost like I'll move my neck to make me feel like I'm doing better. I'm really trying hard not to, trying hard to still cling on to this movement. Keep breathing. Couple more. Let's go one more. Okay, then go the other way. So shoulders down and back, up, forwards, down, back. See if you can keep your elbows really straight. Move slow. See if you can feel breathing. Okay, let's keep going on this shoulder stuff. I want you to go into external rotation with your arms about shoulder height. So if you turn your thumbs back, it's external rotation. Keep your hands shoulder height. So you got internal rotation to external, internal to external. And see if you can reach your fists out. What's important here is that you can look and see your biceps turn. So you can kind of see, especially on my arm that's got tattoos on it, you can see this tattoo turn. That's what I want you to see and feel and be able to control really specifically. So you get both shoulders to work at the same time. Can you breathe? Make this work really nicely. The left arm's doing a little click. Not too worried about the click. Clicking's fine. Just a little bit of gas or air or space getting forced out. The more I do this, that click might go. I used to have much clickier shoulders than I do now. Doing this until we get kind of tired, by the way, so you should start feeling a little bit of lactic acid build up now. 2 more. Oh, there we go. Now I want you to move your neck, because all those muscles will just be moving around, are all very much related to how your neck performs. Can you reach your fists down, hold your neck to the side, and make this closing angle side longer? So I could go like this, look, and I've kind of collapsed down, I've lifted this shoulder a bit, my neck's disappeared, my ear is almost touching my shoulder. I'm not after that, I'm after the length. So I'm kind of like pulling my head up and then lengthening this and lengthening this. And then I want you to rotate your head up to the ceiling, and then down to your shoulder. So if you think side bend plus this, you might have seen me come out of the stretch a little bit there because I'm trying really hard to not let my spine do the side bend as well, just so that I've got individual control over these muscles of my neck. And our necks are vulnerable. We've got eyes that can look around, so the muscles of our neck, unless you train them, just don't tend to be very good, because you can just look around with your eyes and your body. So if you need to look behind you, you literally like move yourself around, and then these muscles here just get lazy and atrophy and don't stay strong. Let's try the other side. So as you do this side bend, it might take you a couple of little like noodly around bits to really feel like you can open this closing angle so it doesn't look like this. So I've got quite a flexible neck, but if I try and keep this closing side long, it's different. And see if you can rotate really slowly. Any pain is legitimate pain. Try not to move around in any pain. It can feel a bit new, a bit weird maybe, but you just got to move slow and do this progressively. So maybe you just do it a little bit longer every day. Doing this every day would really help if you struggle with neck pain, neck tension, especially if you work at a computer a lot, because you tend to just set, especially if you're really good at getting your work done and you just focus on your Excel spreadsheet for hours and hours at a time. Let's make sure these muscles of your neck don't just get lazy and just get good at hanging forwards like this. It is so easy to let that happen. Okay, then let's go into hips. We're going to start doing the bigger stuff now. I kind of like this way of balancing. If you've got a sofa or a bed near you, you just lean your leg, the balancing leg, up against the sofa or the bed or whatever it is that you've got, and it's a little bit of help for balance, but it's not as much help as having your hand on something. It's just enough for me. Then lift this knee, so you can get your knee higher than your hip. Always put your hand behind your back and see if you can tell what your lumbar spine does as you move this around. Swing your knee out to the side and lift your heel higher than your knee if you can. And that means you might need to drop this knee, get this knee as far away from your other knee and try and lift this heel. I lack internal rotation, look, I can't get that heel higher than my knee, no way. Then knee to knee, then knee up, knee out, and then find that corner again. And I want you to just spend at least a second here in this little pause with your leg going out to the side. Keep going, I'm just going to face you so that you can see maybe a bit more. So as you open this knee out, you lift your heel, try and get your heel higher than your knee as your knee goes out to the side. The whole time, your hand stays on your lower back and see if you can tell if you are changing anything. This other hand I'm going to hold onto my pocket, which is my hip really. See if anything changes here. I can feel little bits of tension changing with this hand on my pocket. Let's see if I can keep it really uniform and see if it improves my movement. So you'll notice, if you keep coming to this class or any of my other classes, function wins for me. As long as I am looking at the function of how my joints work, that is better for me than expanding my range over and over again. So let's swap legs. So you can do the thing with your leg again, so I'm going to keep facing you. So your ability to articulate your limbs wins over getting more range. Sometimes people really need more range, so they need to get more flexible, but this is a bigger bang for your buck, I think, of being able to move your hip separately from your spine, so that when the spine and your hip has to be a team, hip pulls its weight. And then we do the same for the spine. You can move your spine separately from your hip. When the hip and the spine are a team, the spine pulls its weight. You are then a better human at moving. That's a terrible sentence. God damn it. It's all right though. Keep this moving. Let's go for one more. And then let's think. I've checked in with this quite a lot, but your leg going sideways, hip abduction, is one of my really weak links. Just do a few reps of pulling this leg out to the side this way. I want you to put your finger on the outside of your bum. See if you can point your toe as you get this leg out. You should feel this get all burny, a little bit lactic acid right here, just right where your pocket is. Let's try the other leg. Just feel that stuff. Think about how hard it is. It's tough. I burn out really fast. I tire out so quickly with this lateral movement. But then, if we come into kind of wide legs, and we start getting into the stretchy stuff now, I've just got way wider than I could. This angle here, so this is the one to watch really. It gets confusing when you stretch both groins out because it's different to stood up. But I don't feel anything here now. These muscles pull this leg out to the side. The shape of your body and gravity and the floor being in the way means that these muscles don't really have to perform to find you in this shape. If you want to be good at this shape and lower, like side splits, then you need strong abductors. These muscles on the side of your hips need to be able to pull your leg out to the side for this stuff to be able to stretch, so that you have balance between strength and mobility. Very easy to just hammer yourself into this stretch until these groin muscles are just so stretchy, so bendy, they've got all of the range, but do you have control over it from the opposing side? And I think about this for all of the mobility stuff that we do. I want you to be able to be as strong as you are flexible, so that those two worlds work together to make you be able to move better. So you have options. Okay, so I want you to hinge forwards. If you want, you can have the sofa in front of you. It makes this so much easier, so you've just got something to hold on to take the weight of your body. If you're flexible enough, then you can bring fingertips to the floor, and that's allowed as well. I want you to think about keeping your left leg really straight and bend your right knee slightly. Because I've got quite wide legs, I'm not going all the way down into a Cossack squat because I'm just not flexible enough. If my legs are closer, then I'm quite happy down here. This is a different thing. It's this that I'm after. And you can put weight into hands on the sofa or a chair or hands on the floor, however you want, to lean into this groin stretch here. See if you can breathe. Keep dropping. Keep leaning into this stretch. Okay. In a second, with this left leg, so your straight leg, I want you to pull the floor towards the other foot, just with this leg, and it should feel like this groin muscle here is starting to load up and starting to be able to work a little bit. Pull, pull it, pull it, pull it, put load through this groin, going 3, 2, 1. This is going to be the hard bit. I want you to drop down onto your knee on this right leg, bring your hands down here, and then I want you to be able to lift this leg from the outside of your hip, like this. And hold it out and own this. Keep owning it, going 3, 2, 1, and then just drop and move forwards and backwards. Now, I'm going to cramp up, very likely, because like I said, this is really tough for me. You might be okay. But I feel like it's on the edge of cramp. My body is giving me a little warning that this is new. It doesn't know if I should be doing this or not. I'm within my capacity, I'm within my capabilities here. If you need to come out of this, you can come out of it. It's fine. Go for a couple more. And that cramp feeling has subsided now, and I feel much better. And I feel like this stuff here is sufficiently stretched, but I've also adapted to being able to be strong enough from these muscles on the outside of my hip. And that is a good feeling. Okay. Coming up, let's go back up in standing again. Let's get into this the same way. So shuffle your feet out, maybe you can as wide as you can to be able to find a tiny little stretch in the groin here. Just breathe here for a second. Think about your footprint, think about having a bit of play in these knees, because I like the knees to have options. If your knees are fully locked, there is only one option, and that is forwards, and then you've got options again. But I don't want there to be that pathway. I want you to be able to go side to side, forwards, backwards, and be able to bail on this if you really have to. Hopefully nobody's working up to the ceiling of their capacity that they would ever have to bail. Come into hamstring stretch, and see if you can bend your left knee this time until you find this stretch here in this groin. And have your feet kind of reasonably wide. I'm not after sitting deep into a Cossack squat. Your ankle can perform here as well though, which means your little toe on the outside edge of your foot is pressed down. And keep hanging out here, shoulders down away from ears. Keep breathing. I'm just hanging out here, just trying to feel this stretch. Then I want you to pull on the floor, quite hard. Keep pulling, keep pulling, keep pulling. Keep pulling on the floor, loading up this stuff here. Going stronger and stronger. 3, 2, 1. Bring this left knee down. Have this leg out to the side, and then try and lift this foot. And just hold it up, hold it up, hold it up. Try and feel these muscles on the outside of your hip. 3, 2, 1. Drop it down, move forwards and backwards. So you should have a little stretch on this groin as you move your hips back towards your heel, and then forwards and backwards and forwards. And breathe. That's it. Okay. So let's have a little look at our hamstrings. So if we come up in standing now, Just move your legs around a bit. They probably feel a little bit like tired and numb. Just explore this internal external rotation, explore internal external rotation, just to see if you can get a little bit more circulation back into these legs. Then I want you to stand in slight split stance like this. It's not a big long lunge shape, you just have your right foot forwards of your left. All of your toes are all pointing the same direction, so just look at them and then check that you've got both knees kind of bent like this and this back heel stays down. Lock your knees in place with this slight bend. You can kind of see, look, they're not fully locked out, they're just a little bit off lock, and I've locked them there in place. I want you to put your hand on your lower back and try and bring your belly button down but keep your chest up. See how my back hasn't changed shape from where it was here to here. Okay, just hang on this hamstring stretch, and I want you to feel your footprint on both legs and see if you can drop your belly lower. You can use a sofa to give you a little bit of a help, so you can put one hand to the side, so your bed or sofa or whatever you've got, or you can have your hand on your shin. You might be able to bend over lower than me, but what I'm after is not letting your spine do half of the work like this. It's not wrong to let the spine do that, but I want you to know when you're doing it so that you've got control over your stuff. Still this little bend in both knees, so check in on that. The knees have got options, and see if you can keep leaning into this hamstring stretch. Now, I want you to try and pull your feet towards each other. As hard as you can, pull feet towards each other. Like you're trying to shorten the floor between your feet. Keep pulling, keep pulling, keep pulling. Big toes push down, keep pulling, going 3, 2, 1. Curl your spine over so you can get hands to floor. And see if you can really hinge into this, so like your belly starts coming against your thigh. You can breathe. Flatten your back. Let's just do 5 times, standing up and then coming back down without moving your spine, and then standing back up. And every time you come down, find your stretch, back up, and find your stretch, back up. Keep this little soft bend in this front leg, don't let it lock out. It's going to be the habit of some people. Let's go for one more. Yes. Okay, swap legs. So, left foot forwards, right foot back, all the toes pointing forwards, little bend in both knees. Show yourself that you've got this bend by showing yourself there's options, forwards, backwards, side to side, all of the places you could possibly go. Keep your spine really straight and come into this hamstring stretch. You should feel this stretch here, and just breathe here. Keep dropping your belly lower, big toes pressed down. See if you can lengthen your spine. Don't let your spine just curl over like this. You're trying to keep your back flat. So I think about pulling this bottom rib away from my pelvis to be able to find this. If you need to, you can have a hand on a piece of furniture or something if it takes the weight of your body off of this. If it's a bit too much, you can help and then build up to taking your hand away. And that's progressive training. That'd be the smart thing to do. Keep hanging out, keep hanging out. Keep holding. Now try and pull your feet towards each other really hard. So you make this hamstring grip on. I want you to know about how to make this hamstring strong here. Keep holding and then curling over, dropping lower, dropping lower, dropping lower. Keep pulling feet towards each other. Lift yourself up and come back up to standing and back down and back up. Let's just go for 5 of these, keeping your knee just off lock. And this hamstring stretch for me feels so different to if I do standing wide leg, or if I do seated with leg out like this. All of these different shapes are super different. We're going to go into this one next anyway. It's different to that. The way that gravity works, the shape that my body is in, the muscles that have to hold on for me to be able to do that stuff all change, and they're all relevant because we're just like a Venn diagram of movements and strengths and weaknesses. And one movement makes you strong for the next movement, and that Venn diagram crosses, and that goes into another one that maybe just dips into that next circle. You know what I'm saying? It all adapts to the next bit, to the next bit. I want to be able to have a huge repertoire of strengths and mobility so that you can make all of your stuff work nice. So if you just sit with your leg lengthways on a sofa or bed, if you don't have a sofa or bed to hand, this shape is fine, this shape is also fine, because you can still follow all the cues exactly the same. You just stood up as opposed to sat down. It's the same thing, look, it's very similar shape. Hinge forwards and maybe grab hold of your foot if you're flexible enough. If not, hand can go under your knee or to the side, or you can even use a band or elastic band around your foot to hold on to. Whatever you've got that makes you feel like you can get into this and feel this stretch in this hamstring. What I like is having this knee pull out to the side and try and get as far away from the other knee as I can. It makes me feel these muscles that we've already trained on the outside of our hips. If you're standing, that doesn't work so well, by the way. And then drop your torso right down in between your two knees that you've pulled away from each other. Don't let this knee collapse in like this. I want it pulled out so your knee stays over the top of your foot. And pull your torso down and try and lengthen your spine. So that looks like, so if I go like this, look, I've kind of curled my spine over. I'm not after that. I'm after this. Pulling your chest up, dropping your belly button right down in between your legs. And I try and use these two fingers around my big toe to pull me further into this. What I want your shoulders to do is shrug up and then pull down as far away from your ears as you can. And then see if you can just soften them there. You don't have to cling on. It's not part of the deal with doing hamstring stuff. But where your shoulders live might be a habit that you can only perform when your shoulders are shrugged. Or rather, you had other options. Like I say, we're just trying to increase your options of the shapes that you can get into. Keep breathing here. Now I want you to drive your heel down hard. Push this heel down through the sofa as hard as you possibly can. Keep pushing. Keep driving down. Keep getting stronger and stronger and stronger. See if you can relax your jaw a little bit. Make this heel even stronger again. Keep pushing. Keep pushing. Keep pushing. 3, 2, 1. Put your hand on the side of the sofa. Maybe keep your torso pulled over towards this outside leg. So the one that you're not stretching, and see if you can lift your foot here. Feel your hip flexors. Keep lifting, going 3. Keep lifting this foot, 2, 1, and then drop yourself into stretch again. Cool. Then come over onto the other side of your sofa or your bed. You can spin around and have this other leg stretched out. Remember, standing is a legit option. It's absolutely fine. You'll notice actually as well with this outside arm, I've just got my elbow on my knee. It just helps me to have a place to put my spine. It's not essential. I could have this arm here. I could even have it on the outside of my leg. Anywhere is cool. So if you've got it, you can grab hold of your toes like this, or the outside of your foot if you're flexible enough, but still dropping your body in between your legs. Look at this knee on the stretchy leg, how it's just got a little bend in it. I could lock it out. That's a different thing. It's quite a challenge for me there actually. I could do that and that might be useful for me, but I'd rather just see you like this. I want you to feel it right in the belly of the muscle. Imagine your hamstring down the back of your thigh, and it's not just feeling pokey like at your connective tissue bits, which is kind of behind your knee. I want it to be right because the length of the hamstring really feels this stretch. See if you can drop your belly but lift your chest. So that means lengthening your spine. Hang out. Keep hanging out. Keep holding, keep holding. And I know we've all got different sofas. Some people's sofas will be super soft, some will be firm. Just adapt. You just work out, and you should definitely explore this and every pose that we do. That the shape that you land in the first time you do it isn't necessarily the best place to be, and no textbook can give us the exact space to be, because we all have different ranges of motion, different needs. I want you to just feel it and make sure your back doesn't really feel anything. So maybe it even just looks like this. Maybe you're kind of upright and you can just try and flip this bottom rib up, and it gives you a little bit of a space to be in that can teach you something to adapt to. Okay. Now Now I want you to drive your heel down through the sofa. In your stretch, you're pushing this heel down. So you're finding end range and contraction at the same time. Keep holding, going 3, 2, 1. Try and lift your foot here. So maybe your hand goes on the inside of your leg. And try and lift, bring your torso away from it and try and look for these hip flexors. Keep holding, going 3, 2, 1. So tiring. And then drop. That's cool. Okay. Then standing back up again, I just want you to get into these hips moving around again. So let's check in again with this internal external rotation. It's so important. This movement here is integral to how we move as humans and how we are upright and how we can be fast and how we can be strong. When we're strong, we don't tend to use this whole articulation, but you can definitely use the torque of when this foot is on the floor and it externally rotates. It makes this bum muscle strong. It gives you options to be able to push, pull, rotate, move, change direction, be agile, all that stuff. The more we keep hold of this into our old age, the better we will be. I like to talk about these extreme examples of using this, like being able to jump really high or run really fast. But really it is just how you deal with the world, and if you need to make a quick move to get out of the way of a speeding car or something exciting like that, you've got this stuff that you can dig into the floor and just use it. Even if your running days are done, doesn't matter. If your running days are still ahead of you, then you can use this to be fast when you run. It's important. There we go. Okay, then coming down onto all fours, we'll get into this spine stuff now. So we already did the controlled articular rotations at the beginning of the class. Let's see if you can only move your lumbar spine, which means your hips tilt, your pelvis tilts. It might take you a little while to get hold of this movement and feel what it is you've got going on. It feels really good for me because I think I've just done a nice amount of training this morning, so I'm pretty well warmed up. There we go. And then I want you to go shoulder blades, squeeze together, push apart. We've done a bit of shoulder stuff today as well. See if you can make those shoulder blades move. So squeeze shoulder blades together, pull them apart. Let's see if we can do global spine stuff. So we don't often do this, but I think it is relevant and important. So if you tuck your chin and pull your hips forwards, so you come into cat pose like this, like a stretching cat, and then I want you to make everything move at the same time. Go into extension, flexion, extension, flexion. So your neck moves at the same time as your pelvis. This whole system can work. You can find all of your stuff. Really tempting to do this movement in time with my breathing, which can feel nice and it is lovely to practice, but I'd rather breathe out of time to the movement so that I just get good at breathing no matter what. I'm doing this enough to be able to adapt. I'm doing this until my muscles of my belly get tired, because I want to train enough to be able to adapt so that I can change the way that my body works, because I have trained it to get better. Okay, that's enough of that. And then let's see if you can just do a few reps where you segment your spine. This is the way I normally teach this. So if you start in cat pose like this, you move lumbar spine separately. Feels really nice for me now after doing all that ab work. I feel much more in control of this actually. It's weird when stuff works nice and you get improvements from things that already worked. Feels like you're really breaking down barriers. So good. Feels mint. I've got to move slow. Got to move slow so that I don't miss anything. Let's go last one. And then coming into seated on here. Let's do a little bit of ankle stuff. So right up on the edge of your sofa, if you are sat on the sofa, you can do this sat on the floor as well. Always hook your forearm underneath your hamstring, and grab hold of your shin, grab hold of your arm, and do really slow, controlled articular rotations of your ankle. Make this move extra slow. Push into every corner. So think about it like a square. You go bottom right, top left, bottom left. And try and make that square bigger and bigger and bigger. Because your hand is on your shin, hopefully, you can feel if your shin kind of like is moving around with your ankle. Let's see if we can get this stuff to just perform really well. Then go the opposite way. Slow it down. Slower than that even, because everybody that I ever teach this to has a habit of skipping over the bits that don't work. If it does a little judder, like it can't control its stuff, that's the bit that you need to lean into and do better with. There we go. Swap legs. The other arm goes behind your hamstring and move slow. Shoulders down. Top right, bottom left, top left. I want you to notice stuff. And it might even just be the tiniest bit. You might even feel a little bit of cramp in your foot, possibly. If you do, make that stuff work nice. Get it better. Perform more. Keep practicing this. While you're doing this, because you are sat on your sofa or your bed, hopefully, go the other way, or even on the floor, which part of your bum is sat down? Can you feel where your pelvis is underneath you? Breathe. Bring this foot down, bring your ankle up onto the top of your thigh. Just because we haven't done our usual hip stretch, this is another way to do this that you can do in your office as well. I kind of like if I intertwine my fingers into my toes. Can't do this, don't do this in your office. If there's other people in your office, it's weird. And I hold onto my foot like this with all of my toes splayed, with a finger in between each toe. And then this other hand kind of pushes this hip down as I hinge forwards. Just breathe here. Having a toe be able to spread like this is super important. I know I keep telling you about all the things that I think are super important. It's well documented that modern footwear has ruined our feet by having heel stacks and by having pointy-toed shoes. Even trainers, even the best running shoes. You could go spend 150 quid on a pair of Nike and the toes come to a point. It doesn't help us to run fast. It's a shame and it's weird. And I'm kind of a fan of those shoes and the way they look aesthetically. I spend a lot of money on trainers that aren't so good for my feet actually. But when I perform, I either perform barefoot or I wear barefoot shoes. I've got some Merrell barefoot shoes which are great. I run in those. Big wide toe at the front, there's no cushioning, no heel stack, no air bubble, and I perform better for that. There we go. And come to this other leg. Fix the ankle up, make some space in between your toes with your fingers. You can get toe spreaders as well, that are like little things that you'd use if you were waiting for your nail varnish to dry. It can be really good to get these toes to really get used to being able to spread the floor and feel the floor so you get feedback. Problem with using trainers that are all structurally sound and strong and they've got loads of cushioning and things is you lose the ability to feel the floor and be able to adapt according to what you feel on the floor, because your trainers do all of that stuff. And like I say, I like them and I buy them, but I don't wear them for sport. I wear them like I'll go shopping or something because I'm not doing much else right now. I want to go to the supermarket in. Then as soon as I'm home, they're off and I'm in bare feet as much as I possibly can, and then I train in bare feet. I feel like it's the same as I enjoy a beer. I don't over drink, I very rarely get drunk, but I like the taste of it. I like the taste of cocktails, obviously. Got one coming this Friday for Red Nose Day, cocktail party, 7 p.m. on 3D Leisure at Home. It's okay to have a beer, but if you get drunk at work, people are going to start saying you need to cut back. You're partying too much. I know it's fun, and it can feel cool. Certainly doesn't look cool getting drunk, but you need to cut back. Maybe just do it only on the weekend. And I feel the same way about wearing Nike Air Max. They look cool and they're kind of fun, and the bubble's crazy, and the comfort and that cushion of walking on something so bouncy can feel nice, but it's not very good for you. You don't perform as well, so you can't do it anymore. When you're at work, you've got to settle in and do your work, and that's it. Enjoy your shoes, enjoy your high heels. If you're rocking the Christian Louboutins with the red soles, good luck to you. Well done for investing in something that is got a crazy work ethic. It's maybe not the best value for money that you can get in terms of a shoe, but if you think that looks good, then that's cool. But you can't wear them all day, every day. You just can't, because your feet won't perform. Okay. Coming out of that, back to breathing. Feet feel so cool after I do that and I settle into that with my toes spread. I feel like new again when my feet are on the floor. It's so cool. Okay, hands onto your thighs, soften your shoulders down, sit up tall, relax your jaw. Maybe just let your eyes close. Expand your lungs. Just do some breathing. Settle in. Bring palms together. Thumbs to forehead and roll forwards. Namaste. Thank you so much for hanging out with me. Let me know what you've got going on. Always drop me a message or a comment on here and I'll see it, and we'll work out what it is you need to do to be able to help you work better. Keep giving me those requests. I love it. All right. Enjoy the rest of your day, guys. I will see you very soon. Bye, everyone. Bye.